Alright, there's a lot to talk about in this video, and honestly, I don't even know where to start. This is gonna be completely improv. There's no script for this. I've been watching the forums over the past couple of days, especially over this weekend, and I like to be optimistic, but things are not looking so good in terms of the brand new New York to Trenton route that is launching on, I think it's the 21st. Yes, it's the 21st. There was a live stream that was scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday, the 16th. But unfortunately, one of the developers, I believe it's Matt Pedalston, has fallen ill. So of course he won't be able to be a part of the live stream. So they did decide to postpone this stream until I think they said Monday the 20th, which is really close to release. That's probably less than 24 hours before release. So even though it is very unfortunate that one of the main developers that will have a big part of the stream is sick and unfortunately can't be a part of it, I know I've seen people say, well, they could have someone else swap in and they could have someone else do that. I can see that point of view, but also at the same time, Matt is most likely going to be the person that's answering most of these questions because I'm pretty sure he's kind of spearheading this. So he does kind of need to be there, you know? So of course, before I go any farther into the video, I wanna send my well wishes to Matt. I hope that he has a speedy recovery. But with that out of the way, that definitely raises many concerns, especially for players that don't know exactly what we're getting. I mean, a live stream less than 24 hours before the launch of the game, definitely very worrisome. But a thread was created on the Dovetail website, and this was created by Triple J814. And oh, there's just so much that I want to talk about here. I'm gonna pull up just a few posts that were posted here and kind of give more insight as to why I'm concerned. So details on the timetable were shared with us right here on the forums. If you aren't on the forums, I don't know if those have been posted anywhere else. I know that someone actually commented what was expected to come with the timetable on one of my videos, and I was kind of looking at it all weird, like, what? Where did you get this? I had no clue where it came from. Well, it's on the forum, so we're gonna be talking about that here first. So many members and players in the community wondering about the timetable, what services are included, what services are not included, and JD actually responds on page 3 of this thread, kind of giving us the full rundown of exactly what we can expect with New York to Trenton. He writes, "Hi folks, wanted to jump into this thread with a little more explanation. Wanted to make sure we had the full picture before responding on the stream last night. So the full details are as follows. There are 289 total playable services on the route on release, broken down as follows. So anything marked SSY is Sunnyside Yard, and for Amtrak, there are a total of 123 services. There are 37 Northeast Regionals, 21 Keystones, 2 Silver Meteors, 2 Vermonters, 2 Crescents, 2 Pennsylvanians, 2 Silver Stars, 2 Carolinians, 2 Cardinals, 2 Palmettos, and 49 Amtrak Deadheads to and from Sunnyside Yard. A lot of these being Deadhead services. I'm kind of not surprised by that. I mean, having Sunnyside Yard, there's going to be a lot of moves, and even though Sunnyside Yard isn't too far away from New York Penn, I guess it still does provide a decent amount of gameplay because you gotta go through the tunnel and out the other side. So probably looking at, I'd say 10 to 15 minute services for the Deadheads, most likely less though. The problem here doesn't lie with Amtrak, at least for me in my opinion. I think they did a good job of representing what would actually take place in terms of total Amtrak services. I don't know the official numbers. I don't know what time period this timetable is going to be based on, but for the most part, this looks like a pretty good number. I feel like they did good with Amtrak. Up next, New Jersey Transit, which is where I feel like most of the issues lie. There are only a total of 121 New Jersey Transit services, which doesn't reflect what would actually be moving within this New York to Trenton region at all. They have left out a majority of New Jersey Transit services, and this is where I start to become a little concerned. He rates New Jersey Transit including but not limited to 31, 37, 38, 39, and of course deadheads not visiting Sunnyside Yard, 82. New Jersey Transit deadheads to and from Sunnyside Yard, 39. I'm not too concerned about Amtrak Acela Express. It seems like they did really good with that, 32, and of course 13 are deadheads to and from Sunnyside Yard. I did have some questions that I mentioned previously in another video. For example, what do they plan to do with some of the Acela services, especially the non-stops that, leave New York Penn, they go south, but they don't stop at Trenton? Are they going to have every single service stop at Trenton and basically fictionalize these Acela services to make them playable? Because if they don't do that, and if they have everything be very accurate to real life, then the player wouldn't be able to play, because we only can go as far as Trenton. We can't go farther south to Philly, 30th Street. So I guess here seeing 32 playable Acelas, 13 to and from Sunnyside Yard, 45 total, I guess that kind of tells us that they're probably fictionalizing it, because I know not all of those are stopping at Trenton. There are a handful that do not, but again, I don't know what timetable they're basing this off of. I don't know how many services would or would not be stopping at Trenton realistically, I guess depending on whatever timetable they're basing this off of. So if you guys know more information about the real life timetable or what they're basing it off of, I guess you might understand this a little bit more than me. Here's where the issue is. They confirm here that there is no Long Island Railroad layer, and if they would, these trains would only be available at New York Penn. There aren't stationary CSX locos in the yards, as we determined they would hamper performance for something which ultimately isn't playable. I don't see how that could be a problem though, because in so many other routes there are static locos. There's even playable freight on so many other routes as well. So why is US content getting the crappy end of the stick here? Not just with no freight or even static freight, which is going to make the route kind of seem like a ghost town, considering we're not really getting many New Jersey Transit services, or not as many as there should be, that would actually reflect a realistic timetable in this region. Kind of makes no sense because they chose this region. It's a busy region, so they need to be able to actually represent that with the gameplay, or even if you can't play all of them, have them still be there as AI. Long Island Railroad, at least have them coming to and from, being able to see them while you're there. Like, yes, I can understand you're not going to be spending most of the time at New York Penn, but when you are, not seeing any Long Island Railroad is going to make that station seem dead, and it is going to totally break immersion. Just my opinion. I know not everyone feels that way, and not everyone's going to care that Long Island Railroad is there or not, but that's a big part of New York Penn, and that's definitely a very valid criticism. Even seeing freight along the route as well is important to me as well. I will say I definitely don't like the excuse that they use when they talk about performance, because there are so many other routes that have so many other layers that, at least for 9th gen and PC, run fine. And if you're playing on an 8th gen console, then I don't understand why there can't be limitations to the timetable, a more reduced, less intensive timetable. But for 9th gen and PC players, why should they, or we in this case, for me because I play on PC, why should we have to suffer at the hands of those who have less powerful systems? I definitely don't think that that should be the case. There should be 2 timetables for each, and even an option with layers to toggle them on or on if you want the extra services, if you want Long Island Railroad. If you're playing on PC, there could be a box that you check off that enables all of these extra layers, but of course there could be a pop-up that shows you, hey, if you do this, you could be sacrificing performance. Are you sure? Yes or no? The option to have that there for players that want it, and for players that don't, an option to take it away. That would please pretty much everyone. Those that want it would be able to have it. Those that don't want it it or can't have it could have the option to not have that as well. And I think that this here is definitely opening up a discussion to make an option like that possible in the game. They write here that all players will receive the full timetable 8th or 9th gen, and that's part of the problem. I think that they should definitely have what they've listed here for 8th gen, but for 9th gen, give us more. We need Long Island Railroad, and that's not even it. I'm pretty sure at one point they even confirmed they even left out New Jersey coastline. Yes, we won't be able to drive down there, but at least have the services move from New York Penn to where that branch goes off, whether they're drivable or not. At least have them be AI trains or have them be playable and drivable from New York Penn up until that last station stop before it diverges and goes off onto that separate route. Either of those options are feasible to me. Whether they add more gameplay or not, the route will need to be busier. If it's going to turn out how I'm imagining it's going to turn out based off of what I'm seeing here, yes, we have the Amtrak, yes, we have the Acela, yes, there's New Jersey Transit, very limited in my opinion, but even with all of these things, compared to real life, this route at times is going to seem like a ghost town. There won't be any chasing signals. It's going to be all green, all clear ahead for everyone at all times, basically, which I guess isn't a bad thing. But one of my favorite things about London Commuter is the fact that sometimes you are chasing signals. There's so much that they have implemented with that. So many different locos that you can't drive or can't play, but you still see from time to time. So many additional layers that give the route so much life. And my favorite word, again, immersion. Being immersed in the world, on the route, seeing so many different things happening at so many different times, it makes it so fun to play. I can't stand a route that feels like a ghost town, and I'm just worried that this is going to be more in that direction than lively. JD adds here, in all, we wanted to make sure we focused on the main playable trains on release and ensuring the new signaling system worked with these before throwing too much more into the mix. So is that their way of saying we want to test this, but we plan to add more? Because I feel like sometimes they give us that hope and then nothing ever happens. And we know once this is released, they're probably just going to move right on to the next DLC, because that's the thing with Dovetail. It's just churn, 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 pump out onto the next thing, churn, 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 pump out onto the next thing. Honestly, I feel like if this comes out, they're probably going to forget about it and move on to the next thing. And I don't want to see that happen because there is so much potential for this route. Like, this could literally be their best American route. But with knowing what we know, it looks like it might not be. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong. And I hope that now, seeing with what's happened on the forums, there has been quite the uproar, as there should be. There's nothing wrong with paying consumers, voicing their opinions, and saying, hey, we have felt neglected long enough. I feel like they give so much priority to the UK routes, the UK players, Germany routes, so much attention to detail. And then when it comes to US passenger, we're just kind of left with the crappy end of the stick. And I feel like it's happened so many times now that people are getting fed up, and we're at a point now where we're gonna stop spending our money on these things because we are constantly being given the bare minimum and corners are just constantly being cut. I know this video is gonna come off very, very critical, but these kinds of discussions need to happen, and I know that not everyone is on the forums, not everyone sees these kinds of things, so I wanna relay this message and of course amplify these voices on the forums over to YouTube, over to more people, even though I don't really have many subscribers at the moment, only at about 300, but I know that people will probably see this video and hopefully share it with others, because I think people need to know what's gonna be coming with this route before it releases. And now, of course, seeing that the stream is delayed to one day before release, a lot of people are pre-ordering this and don't know what's being left out, and that just doesn't seem super fair to me. I know that things happen, I know that people get sick, but there's a lot that's being kind of kept under wraps, and I guess in a way, they could be trying to get as many pre-orders as possible before this comes out and people really see what the timetable looks like. He does add here, we will of course be monitoring feedback both pre and post-release to see if there are further additions and changes that can be made to the timetable after release, but gets roadmap voice out, there are no plans at the moment. Well, that better change, because this timetable is unacceptable. There is so much that's left out, there are so many corners being cut, and if this were a UK route or a Germany route, this would not be happening. And the the thing is that that's their core fan base. Most of their players are probably UK and German players. They would not let this fly, but they most likely have less US players. I mean, I don't know for sure, but they most likely do. So the backlash is definitely going to be less here than it would be if it was a UK route. But that's another reason why I'm making this video. It gets to a point where we start saying enough is enough. It just becomes a little ridiculous. It kind of seems like they skimmed out on the timetable because they mentioned that they have a pretty new signaling system that I guess they're kind of testing in a way. I guess they want to release this and see how things work to get feedback before deciding if they want to improve it or umph it up a little more. One forum user responds, "This reads like you want players to buy your full increased price product and test the new signaling system. If the signaling system doesn't work with a busy timetable, you haven't fixed the issue. You've just replaced it with another one." And exactly. But JD quotes this here saying it's about building out the structure first, and then the timetable gets manually added afterwards. So perhaps it should have been phrased, we wanted to make sure the core structure is there and then focus on making sure that the experience of the playable trains in the pack was as positive as possible. They don't need to release this first to find that out. It's likely going to be fine. And again, with what I said earlier, they can very much have different timetables and different layers for 8th gen or 9th gen in PC. Letting 8th gen bottleneck stronger systems just isn't fair. JD of course confirms here again, there's no freight stock. Sad to see so many other passenger routes, especially ones in the UK and in Germany, loaded with freight, but here we are again, no freight on this one, not even static freight. That's definitely going to make it seem more empty than it should, or that it is in real life. JD confirming here yet again that they don't plan on making any changes to the timetable, at least before release. The above will be the release timetable. So definitely very disappointing and quite frankly just unacceptable. And it's like, it's not us complaining like, oh, we deserve more, we deserve more. Obviously we do deserve more, but it's the comparison of looking at the attention to detail and the layers and the amount of services, like what, 400, 500, 600, 800 plus on other routes, UK, Germany, and then 200 something for US passenger? That's just sad. It's so sad. And God, I really hope they rethink this because it really is ridiculous. And it's good that people are speaking up because if no one speaks up, everyone buys the product and they make the money, why would they change it? You know, why would they improve their product if everyone's buying it? So it's time that we say something. It's time that we take action and stop purchasing these things, at least when it launches. Matt also confirms that the Metroliner cab car is indeed only present on the Keystones. Northeast regionals don't need it. So happy to see that, of course. Some realism there. I also wanted to ask about the multi-level cab car. Is that something that's coming with this? Because they haven't really talked about that at all, have they? Of course, if you want to read the whole forum, join, interact, reply, I will have this linked in the description of this video. Click that, join, share your discussions, upvote responses, share with the team that this is something you care about and are passionate about and want to see changed, because the more people, the better. And the more people that join in on this, of course, the higher the chance that things will happen. But of course, I want to say, please don't attack anyone. Keep it respectful, keep it civil, because that's how it should be. Constructive feedback and attacks are definitely two very different things, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with constructive feedback. We all love this game. We're passionate about this game. We want things to improve. We want things to change, and this is our way of making sure that that happens, or at least trying. So as far as the timetable, again, they note here that what's listed above is what will ship. He says, is it ideal? No, but I'm also not here to make false promises. Honestly, it still feels great when driving. I passed many trains on an NJT run out of Penn last night. A lot of us are kind of banking on that preview, but now that that's delayed, a lot of us won't really know what to expect until pretty much when this releases. This sparked some interesting conversation, but Matt also added here, would it be appropriate to put an all-electric loco on a train going down New Jersey coastline, which is a fake operated by a bi-mode train? I know the diesel isn't used until a ways down, but if we send an ALP-46 down there, is that going to be cool? Not saying we will or can, but in case we can, would like to get sentiment, Matt. I'm gonna say this, I do not care. Personally, I do not care. I don't care what you send down there. New Jersey coastline makes up a lot of services, and that is going to help it definitely feel less lonely, less like a ghost town on at least that portion of the route. Where is it? Rahway, I think, from that point north. half all the way to New York Penn, definitely gonna help make things feel more alive and busy, more services to pass, of course, if you're driving Amtrak or Acela. Honestly, personally, I don't care what they use as a substitute. Just get those services in, whether they're playable or not. Even having them be AI will improve things much more, but ideally, if they can be playable, at least down to that point where it splits off, then I would love that as well. But if that's asking too much, at least have them be AI. I don't see why this would matter though, because look what they did on Boston Sprinter. They put ACS 64s on parts of track that aren't even electrified to signify other Amtrak services, just to kind of have them there to, you know, fill things in and make the route, at least near Boston, feel more alive. So if they did it there, why can't they do it here? I don't understand. I guess people were kind of confused and thrown off by that, so he's probably asking here just to, you know, see if that's okay. But honestly, anything to increase the traffic of the route, playable or not. And who knows, sometime in the future, if they were to introduce a bi-mode train into the game, then they could always just swap that out. He mentions getting ripped apart for the electrics where diesel should be on Boston, but I'm more than happy with it if you are. Hey, that's what I'm saying. I'm happy with it. I'm cool with it. I personally do not care. Even if they have to fictionalize it a little bit, I don't care. Bring the extra services. I hope that they could at least put that in a post-release patch somewhere, because assuming they haven't added them in for what is going to be shipping next week, but I definitely vouch for that. Another point that was also brought up on here, but I won't talk about it too much, are the PIS systems. For American passenger, especially this route, not modeled correctly. Me personally, it's not something that I care about, but I know that a lot of people on the forums and a lot of you watching probably care about, and I hope that they finally work to get that right on American content, because that's also another thing I know people have been asking for and have felt very ignored, and that's a very, very valid concern as well. Since then, I don't believe the developers have responded to this thread anymore, at least not to my knowledge, but I'm happy that they see our feedback. They're at least hearing what we have to say. I don't want to say listening, because we'll have to see if changes come, but of course I wanted to, again, share this with you, amplify these voices, relay this message, show you what's being talked about on the forums, and I guess what we could expect with the release of this route. Share your thoughts on everything that I talked about down below, and also share your opinions. Keep things civil, keep things friendly, keep things constructive. Links are in the description. Join the forums, upvote, add to the discussion. They even add a poll on here. The person, the wonderful user that created this thread, your opinion on the issues brought up in this thread. I asked to please read the thread before voting. I find the issues to not be a big deal. I find the issues to be ridiculous and Dovetail needs to address, and I have a different opinion. 19% think it's fine, 9% have a different opinion, but the majority, almost 75%, 100 votes, find these issues to be ridiculous. So, I mean, that says a lot right there. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. I'm gonna keep you guys updated with new information as it comes in. I really thought we were gonna get more information on this route today, but apparently that's gonna be coming tomorrow in a blog post, I think. The stream's not happening tomorrow, so hopefully we learn more then. I love you guys. Take care. Happy rail simming.